Hi, Tony Selzer here. Welcome to Zipline. You know, I have one of the best jobs, I think the best job in America. And what is so powerful about what I get to do is I am daily talking to people that are going to change the way we consume, change the way we buy, change our entire life experience. And today's guest, really the company I have on today, is no shortage of that. Visionary, Steve Jobs-like in how we're going to change the way we consume. You know, there's this big push called social media, but businesses are really confused on how is this going to affect what I do? How's this going to affect how I sell and move more products? In Shopography, Mark Zurada has created a platform to connect social to retail, to connect social to the consumer. Hey, Mark, talk to me about what is Shopography? How did you come up with this concept?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to answer that question. So when we first started Shopography, we were we started thinking about the future of shopping and where it'll be. So we put ourselves 5 years into the future and said, what is it going to look like? And we saw things like intelligent ads.
Right.
I think most people can see that. Predictive modeling technology. So, what is a specific consumer's purchase intent going to be? We saw stores that were able to kind of configure themselves a little bit more for the shopper, for that particular shopper.
Right.
And we saw, a consumer's shopping profile living in the cloud and following him between experiences. So,
all these things have come true, right?
Yeah, well, we're working on them, right? We're working towards that. So, more and more of people's lives are living in the cloud, and we're just trying to get that, consumer DNA, so to say, put into the cloud.
Right.
So there can be leveraged kind of in a retailer agnostic way. So whether you're on, going into Amazon.com or the Macy's brick and mortar store, it's kind of following you and kind of customizing that experience for you wherever you go.
Yep.
And at the heart of all that, we saw, data playing the big role. So the question is, who will be responsible for disrupting retail and bringing that data to the cloud about the consumer? So, we saw that being social shopping. So, in general, social shopping is the idea of taking conversations that are already happening in everyday life at the backyard barbecue, where people talk about, the products that they recommend and the taste that they like.
Right.
And taking those conversations and putting them onto the cloud and leveraging that data to customize and enhance the shopping experience. So, in a social shopping world, consumers have a say in what they buy. They're not as subject to, let's say, the advertising shills of the corporate world. And that empowerment is really what makes this exciting for the consumer, what makes it better for the consumer. That's kind of how we...
Well, and I the word, when I first saw what you guys were doing, the word that just came to me was this fused experience, this ability for the fusion of the in the store retail space to fuse with the social experience of what people are having online, because you're tracking and seeing that influence. I mean, I think that you represent an entire ecosystem that, even though social media has been out there, the connection and the fusion has been weak. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's totally fair. There's nobody that's really doing it quite right. So we're one of our goals is to be really retailer agnostic and device agnostic. So not necessarily playing into a mobile phone or a particular retailer. We want it to kind of work throughout the entire fabric of retail. So the way that we've done that is by leveraging the UPC, which is quite surprising because it's an old technology. So we're innovating on something that's been around for a long time, but the benefit of that is that it's ubiquitous. It's already out there, and we're just leveraging that for something new. The UPC is it's not specific to a retailer. It's product specific. So whether you buy a book from Stream of Commerce, the UPC is basically our glue. So that's kind of what we're leveraging to make everything possible. And it goes further. So the UPC tells us what type of product it is, whether it's a TV or a tennis shoe. It tells us the brand of the product, so we know whether it's a Samsung or a Nike.
Right.
And so that allows us to do product recommendations a lot better than anybody else, since we know everything that's coming into our system. Since we know information about the products that are being shared in our system, we can then use those to make recommendations for people's next purchases, or and so on and so forth. It allows us to do trend analysis, all sorts of really interesting things. So that little bit of 50-year-old technology is really playing a big part in what I think is going to be the future of social shopping.
Yeah, it's really pulling that information and showing the relationship it has in this social media outlet, right? Showing that what is that buying profile, what is the other things that those people are going to be interested in, who do they influence, right? What are their followers? Where does that traffic go? Are they a leader? Are they an innovator? And when I say that completeness of the ecosystem, by the fact that you're tracking that influence, you can then create a reward mechanism back to the actual influencer, which is a totally different game. Like, could there be a world where someone's built up enough social cred to actually get rewarded with product for buying product? I mean, that's what you're making that real.
Absolutely. So, what we're doing is we're mapping the stream of commerce in a way where we're drawing relationships between brands, retailers, products, and people. So let's say, for example, that we realize that a particular person is shopping a lot of Levi's, Wrangler, Converse, and Keds. We then know that person's kind of an all-American shopper. So those brands are going to want to then reward them for being advocates of that lifestyle with custom-tailored offerings and discounts, or any of that type of stuff.
You could tell if somebody's doing shotguns and pickup trucks, right? They're gonna have a different buying profile that they're gonna need and have that recommendation to. I mean, I think that's one of those real powers of what you guys do. I mean, the power segments, if you will. So you guys have been at it for a while. You've got your MVP up. You're going through the funding, the fundraising. Where's the ultimate vision for where you want to go with this?
Right now our roadmap looks like this. We basically have 4 phases to what we're doing. So at the heart, like you described, we have our MVP, we have our core technology, we have a patent around this UPC-based social network. We have our mobile apps and our website and our e-commerce integration. So that's really the core that you've described. The next thing that we're going to be doing is moving into the B2B offering. So, since we have such capabilities to drive referrals and recommendations to customers, our quickest way to market is by approaching retailers, integrating with them, selling them products that draw new customers to their stores, that drive higher conversions, higher average order values to their stores, more loyalty to their stores. And in turn, we're going to be flipping their customers into our users. So that's kind of like our initial strategy, is provide an excellent product for retailers that drives up their revenue and converts their shoppers into our users. And then, that'll slowly build our opportunity in the B2C space, and turn it into a truly bona fide social network with all the features that you want and all the great things. We have a lot of ideas.
Well, and I think one of the powers of that model is being the aggregator of that data, knowing where those other people shopped and tracking that history. Me as a retailer, I'm historically been very, very against giving up the data that I have on my customer, but really it's by understanding the aggregate data and the profiling and delivering that better experience through the social platform, through your social platform. I'm able to create ultimately a better experience for the customer and create better results for all the organizations that you deal with. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're making the e-commerce experience more human. we're adding an amazing layer of analytics, both spanning, the physical world and online world. So if somebody, for example, goes to Macy's and shares out a product from the rack, we can then track, without any further integration on Macy's.com, how that physical store share translated to online purchases. So we're kind of like, we have a whole suite of like analytics that doesn't really exist there. So, is showrooming actually a problem? Well, maybe not if people are sharing and getting excited about the products that they find and effectuating sales in the online world. That bridge between the two is really hard to measure, and that's one of the things that we're going after. So yeah, and then after we get our B2C space, we have that big data play. So that's kind of what you're alluding to, is unifying that stream of commerce, and providing deep insight into what's being shopped, what people are wish listing all across the world, with insight into the demographics of those people, to the location of those people, drawing relationships between everything.
Understanding the entire ecosystem. Shopography.com. Thanks so much for being on the show, buddy.
Thank you as well, Tony. It's been a pleasure.